Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates the achievements of women in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharon Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, a boutique search firm based in New York. Each week, I have the privilege of learning from incredible leaders as they share their stories. Together, we celebrate their triumphs, explore their challenges, and uncover their vision for the future of bioscience. Our conversations also provide invaluable insights into how women can unlock their unique superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So, whether you're just starting your journey in bioscience, contemplating your next career move, or simply passionate about science and innovation, this podcast is here to empower, inspire, and guide you. Hello there. I'm thrilled to kick off season 2 of She Leads Biotech with a fellow Brit, who in today's episode talks about her work as head of WIAT, a global mentorship program for women at all stages of their career in advanced therapeutics. We also discuss how community and face-to-face connections remain irreplaceable, even in this digital age. And she shares details of the upcoming Advanced Therapeutics Week taking place in January in Dallas, a key event for advancing conversations in cell and gene therapy. She's a natural communicator and networker who believes strongly in advancing the innovation and impact of advanced therapies while supporting the professional development and visibility of women in this field. So please welcome Director of Commercial Partnerships at Phacilitate, Becky Johnson-Kent. Becky, hi, good morning. Good afternoon for you, right?
Yes. Hi, Sharon. Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well indeed.
Yeah.
Can't tell you what a breath of fresh air it is to actually speak to somebody else with a British accent.
Well,
So whereabouts in the UK are you?
London. Twickenham specifically if you're a rugby fan, but yeah, London.
I'm a Brixton born and bred girl, Southwest 9.
Brixton gal. Well, you definitely don't sound, you don't have the US accent yet, so.
I don't know, but I've only been here 8 years, so I'm probably still working on that.
No time.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you, and I really appreciate you taking time out on your Monday afternoon to have a conversation. Now, you're not, I'll be honest, you're not one of my traditional guests. You're not a scientist.
I'll say that's fine.
I don't believe that you've invented anything. You're not a scientist and you haven't got any major breakthroughs, but you do play a very big part in the bioscience space and particularly in advanced therapeutic areas. So talk to me about your passion for that. Where did that start and how did your career follow through to get you to where you are now?
Well, first of all, it's very flattering for you to say that I play a large part. I wouldn't say that, but I would say that I certainly try to play my part. So as you quite rightly say, I'm not a scientist. I haven't invented anything. I don't have a life sciences degree. My background is my degree is in history, and my career to date, other than Phacilitate, has been in property. But throughout my career, I've always played roles that required high levels of interaction with other people, with drawing upon the connection that people have. I've been very good at problem solving, but I've been very good at not only solving those problems, but making connections in order to find a pathway to what people, companies, individuals want to achieve. And I've been with Phacilitate now for 3 years. We operate only in the life sciences space, specifically advanced therapies. And on top of my day-to-day role, I was very much drawn to the Women in Advanced Therapies Mentorship Program that was already in place when I joined. It was a very small mentorship program. It had 10 individuals involved, so 5 pairings, and I volunteered to take that on. And I've now grown it to what is still an amazing mentorship program. We have over 100 individuals involved for 24, but we also have grown the community and network to where we can have 2 standalone events either side of our main events, as well as we had a digital event back in July called Women in Advanced Therapies Global. That was a 24-hour online event. So really bringing together the community across the globe. And that's really my passion, raison d'etre, whatever you want to call it, is, I just really enjoy talking to people. I really enjoy making those connections. It's probably the problem solving element of my brain, which is like, oh, I know that person and actually they might be able to help that person. So I guess my role is the connector of people. So that's kind of the role that I play primarily within Phacilitate and then within the advanced therapies space itself.
Okay. So can you talk to me about the WIAT mentorship program? Because I've heard great things from people who've gone through the mentorship program, but for anybody who might be listening and thinking, this is something I think I might need, what is it? Talk me through it.
Sure. So, I mean, at its base level, it's, again, about making those connections, but there's certainly a differentiation between mentorship and coaching. And mentorship is very much about finding that individual who can provide you guidance and support with whatever goal you are trying to achieve. So with the mentorship program, I hand match every single individual. So it starts sort of midway through each year. Applications are open from February, and then they close end of March, ready for the May kickoff, although we started a month later this year. And it is exactly what it says on the tin. You apply to either be a mentor or a mentee. It's free of charge to do so. All we ask for is your time as the commitment, because obviously both sides are, taking that time and commitment out of their schedule. And I go through a really big spreadsheet. I'd love to say that I have some kind of fancy tool or something like this. I personally read every single application. So we ask various questions around why they want to be a mentor or mentee, what they hope to achieve from this, what they think they will be able to give, what they want to get from it. And then I go through all of that, and it is purely matched on my understandings of, what they want to achieve, of the answers that have been given. So I always say that when you apply, make sure your answers are as detailed as you possibly can, because it gives me a better chance of matching successfully. We do not have 100% hit rate. I'm only human. We do have those that it's like, for whatever reason, you don't necessarily gel, or perhaps it's the wrong timing or whatever it might be. But similarly, we've also had some amazing pairings where they've gone on to, continue their relationship conversation sort of, outside of the mentorship program that only lasts for 6 months. And that's the commitment that we ask people to give is that 6 months time frame. And obviously that's what we would ideally, love to happen for every pairing, is that it's, they continue to talk to one another. And the really wonderful thing is that many of the pairings have met up in real life. Obviously this is all done virtually, although, now I'm working on also trying to match individuals based on time zone and geography and things like that. But sort of the more barriers I put in my way, the more nuanced it gets. It's been incredibly successful, and it's something that I definitely encourage anyone to apply for. But I would say that because it takes so much time, not only from my own personal time, but also the time from the mentors and mentees that goes into it, is to really make sure that this is something that you do want to carry through, because, it's all very well at the time saying, oh yes, it'd be really great to have those, someone for that support and to lean on, but also it's knowing not only how much time you have, but also what you want to get from it. Because as I alluded to, mentorship and coaching are two very different things, as is management. So, but it's very much a two-way street, and it's been very successful, and I hope to be able to continue it and grow it and, get as many individuals as involved. And I should say it's not just for women. That is very important. So we had our first male mentor in 2024, which I'm ecstatic about. Some women would rather to be mentored by another woman. That is a question that is on the application, is would you mind being mentored by a man? And most people say no, but some people just feel more comfortable, obviously, having a woman mentor, which is absolutely fine. But it is open to men and women, certainly on the mentor side. So.
That was going to be my next question. The mentorees are
Yes.
women.
Yes. Yeah. The mentees are women, but the mentors, can be men. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you the stats and statistics. It's actually incredibly beneficial to have a male presence, let's say, certainly when it comes to career and workplace in your corner. So, and they obviously give a different perspective, and one that may not have been considered during your working relationship beforehand. So, but again, it's not something that everybody's comfortable with, but we are very much inclusive, not exclusive.
Excellent. I know the feeling, because I'm desperately trying to get male guests onto the show, even though the show is called She Leads Biotech. I'm really keen to try and get some male perspectives on the situations, but that's a challenge.
Well, I can give you a lot of names, so it's fine.
Yeah, let's have a chat afterwards, see if there's anybody you know that I can talk to. So what level, the mentees, what level would they be? Does it cover everything from C-suite to the intern that's just coming through, or are there specific areas?
So again, it's graduate all the way through to C-suite. And this is why sort of the questions are so important, is because there are a lot of programs out there, understandably so, very much for sort of those higher level roles around sort of leadership, women in leadership, so C-suite directorate, those kind of positions. But there's not many that cater for that graduate level, very early stage, especially in this sphere where you have, very sort of young scientists, coming up, starting in their career. Some of the conversations that we've had in some of the round tables that we've had have certainly been the traditional route is, academic into sort of, PhD into, sort of then kind of, academia into commercial. Some individuals don't go down that route because they don't want to do a PhD. How do they navigate that process? So again, we also do peer-to-peer mentorship. So we do also offer that C-suite to C-suite and things like this. But the sort of the mentorship that I really want to foster is that early stage mentee-mentor relationship. And actually, the majority of the mentors that we have, they're incredibly open with their time and also knowledge around ensuring that those conversations are had. So even if there hasn't been a suitable match for the mentorship program, and I will say that it is, it's not that we don't want anyone. I've tried to match everyone, but sometimes you just can't find enough individuals or suitable individuals to match one another with.
A bit like the dating pool, really, isn't it?
Well, exactly. There you go. I mean, maybe there is a mentorship app. I don't know. Maybe there we go. That's my thing.
There's the clue. Get it? Yeah. But I want every mentor to be like Ryan Reynolds, and then I'll sign up for,
Not too sure how sort of distracting that would be or not, but
yes, I realise that, but I'll certainly pay attention to whatever he's saying.
But yeah, we try to sort of foster that, I guess, grassroots, I think is the phrase, sort of growth, because it's so important. I mean, it's so important for any sector, but especially for advanced therapies when, you have these incredible, minds and breakthroughs, coming through from really early stages. Is how can that be developed? How can it be fostered? And one of the things that I adore about the advanced therapy community is just how open they are and just so giving with their time, but also with their knowledge, their experience. And I've worked in many different sectors, but, genuinely sort of the advanced therapies community is one of the most welcoming that I've ever been part of. I did a welcome address for one of my first events 3 years ago now in Advanced Therapies Europe event. And it was actually a thank you to how welcoming everyone had been, because I very much felt like an imposter being there, talking to people who've made incredible discoveries or have so many letters after their name. It's like reading the alphabet, and they were genuinely so welcoming and also willing to learn from each other, because it's not just about, I guess, what is on the surface of what people can learn from one another. It's again about the importance of building those networks, the communities that you can learn from one another, and you never know what transferable, learnings or skills or whatever it might be that you can take away from one another. So yeah, that's what I just love about this industry.
And just for anybody who might be unaware of what advanced therapies are,
yes,
where do they sit?
Well,
what are advanced therapies?
So specifically, we talk about cell and gene therapies. They're unique therapies that are essentially tailored to your own cells, your own genes. I also don't pretend to go too deep into the science, because there will be someone that'll go, Becky, you just know, they are essentially very, very tailored, but very difficult therapies. But the industry, advanced therapies, are literally curing cancers. So certain cancers have already been cured. Yep. The wholly uncured, not in remission. So Emily Whitehead, who was the first patient to receive CAR-T. She's now, I believe it's 7 years cancer-free. So for blood cancers, and the holy grail is solid tumours. So once those get cured, and I do believe, as does the industry, that there will come a point, the industry is literally then able to say that so many lives will be saved. So I think the stats are now 1 in 2 people will get cancer in their lifetime. So of some description. So, my own father, unfortunately, has recently been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And that's one of the things as well that's been incredibly heartwarming. And I will try not to get emotional. I wasn't going to bring this up, but those connections and people that know, that diagnosis has happened have been so incredibly giving in terms of saying, oh, if there are studies available and clinical trials, and luckily I don't think we have to go down that route yet. It's just cancer is obviously an awful, awful disease. And, cell and gene therapies, I believe, are key to hopefully making it a thing of the past. So in a nutshell, the community is literally saving lives. So,
I mean, unbelievable what I've done quite a bit of work over the last 12 months in the cell and gene therapy area and being schooled, particularly through the podcast, of some amazing people schooling me in the areas which were once upon a time, it was science fiction. It was never something that you ever thought was going to happen. And now it's a reality, and the things that are coming through. So as somebody who, I thank God that cancer hasn't kind of touched my life at this stage at the moment, but I have a cancer phobia, which has got better actually as I've got older. But since working in the life science space, and seeing the incredible things that are happening, it actually has totally changed my perspective and has calmed my rationale when things start to get kind of heated up. I think of all these things that are happening and it comes much more calming. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just think it's incredible what's going on.
It's amazing. And that again, like coming back to the overall theme of, the importance of making those connections, it does take, it's amazing what can happen when people work together. And I think the pandemic sort of, really hammered that home. Obviously the incredible initiatives. And I mean, I wasn't working in the advanced therapy space when COVID hit, but looking at it sort of retrospectively now, what was achieved with the vaccines to be able to have literally on a global scale, everyone coming together, working towards one goal was just absolutely mind blowing. And it really does show what is possible when everyone works together rather than working against each other. And in sort of the cell and gene therapy space, it is so complex, and not just the therapies themselves, they are unique to each individual, but sort of the, manufacturing process, the commercialization process, the regulatory process, the payee process, the payers, the insurers, everyone working together to get these incredible therapeutics. And you have the headlines where it's, the largest, so the most expensive dose ever. But when you know what goes to get to that stage, the fact that these therapeutics are even getting to patients is somewhat of a miracle. And that's why it's so important to ensure that everyone is aligned on just driving forward this change and the importance of just getting these therapies to patients. And the individuals that I talk to on like a daily basis and that I have the privilege of being able to speak to and have access to, everyone has a story about why they're in this industry. Unfortunately, most of the reasons is because they've either lost someone that they loved, or certainly they've been, affected by a type of cancer, or that, these diseases have hit them. And just being able to bring everyone together, which is, what sort of we specialize really in Phacilitate.
Yep.
We have our two, sort of large events. Our largest event is Advanced Therapies Week. The next one is taking place in Dallas in January, but we bring together sort of 2,000 plus individuals from throughout the full community of advanced therapies, investors, academics, researchers, clinicians, obviously the tool and tech providers, the vendors that, create the or manufacture the therapeutics that will get it to the patients, the regulators. And it takes it takes a village. Is that the phrase? I don't have kids, but I think it is. It takes
so they tell me.
Well, exactly. Apparently if it takes a village to, raise a child, I think it takes an army to get a therapeutic to a patient. So I guess, we're those that can rally sort of the troops, taking on this, metaphor, and just get everyone together. And it's so important to ensure that everyone is gathered and is on the same page and knows where to turn and knows others within the industry and makes those connections. And if we in some small way can achieve that, then that's ultimately what we're here to do.
Are you ready to shape the future of advanced therapies? Phacilitate's Advanced Therapies Week 2025 is the can't miss event of the year. Join us January 20th to 23rd in Dallas, Texas, where groundbreaking innovations meet industry leaders. This is your chance to connect with therapeutic developers, scientists, investors, and vendors, tackling challenges and driving progress. With cutting-edge panels, networking opportunities, and exclusive access to the latest advancements, you'll leave inspired and ahead of the curve. Don't wait. Secure your spot now at phacilitate.com. phacilitate.com. And let's advance together. So talk to me about Dallas.
Yes.
And Advanced Therapeutics Week. If anybody's looking to attend or thinking of attending, what would they expect? What should they be looking for?
Well, Advanced Therapies Week is our longest running event. So we've been sort of around for sort of 20 years. We started in the basement of a hotel in Washington with 30 people sat around a table talking about this newfangled cell and gene therapies, this wacky science. And now we're at the stage where we've moved from Washington to Miami. We've been there for several years, and we've moved from the convention center there to Dallas for 1 year to bring the East Coast into more centralized America. And then we're going to San Diego in 2026. But to expect from Dallas is our usual amazing, gathering of, the community. But we've got 6 tracks of content for 2025. We've got several networking events. We've got Dallas Night In, Dallas Night Out. We've got our awards dinner, which is now in its 3rd year, which again celebrates the achievements of those within the industry. Ryan and who's our head of content and all of our production team have created an amazing agenda once again with goodness knows how many fantastic speakers. We've got 200 plus exhibitors being showcased, within the convention center. So it's all going on. And then we've got our investor summit and the Women in Advanced Therapies Congress on the 20th of January, which are very much a prelude to the main event. And that again, for me, ties into that promise and hope of connection around, you get to obviously know sort of 100 plus individuals in the Investor Summit. We've got capacity for 200 Women in Advanced Therapies Congress. So as someone said to me, it's like going to a hen do before the wedding, or for the American listeners, a bachelorette. So we've got a lot going on, and I really do encourage everyone to get involved and just come and see not only what we're all about, if you don't already know, but we're really looking forward to being in Dallas at the moment, just for 1 year before we move on. We might be back, who knows? But they do it bigger and better, so I understand it, in Texas. So it's going to be a big one this year. So
excellent. And what are the dates?
January the 20th until January the 23rd. So
right. Okay.
So it's a good way to kickstart the year.
And people can still get.
Yes. Yeah,
tickets.
Absolutely. They can still get tickets. And so you can just go onto our website, advancedtherapiesweek.com, or just, type into your browser, because there are many available. Phacilitate Advanced Therapies Week, it'll come up. Or if anyone wants to reach out on LinkedIn, there's enough of us floating around that you'll definitely be able to find a way to get involved.
Excellent. So what about you? I first was made aware of you when you did the global 24-hour global event. How much fun was that, and how much coffee was needed to do that? Before I ask you my next question, just tell me a bit about how you brought all that together, a 24-hour event across the globe, and kept it going, kept it interesting, kept it flowing. Amazing.
Yeah, well, the crazy idea came about with sort of a brainstorm, I guess, with myself and one of my colleagues, Lauren, and it was just how can we better connect our community. That's literally what it was. And, Women in Advanced Therapies was going from strength to strength then. And we obviously have a global membership, and we have everyone trying to get involved. And I sort of said, well, look, let's kind of tie in. Wouldn't it be great if we could tie in technology with being able to connect our members? And came up with this nuts idea of let's do it for 24 hours, because then we can engage each contingent around the globe in their time zone. We started putting the agenda together. I started building it, reaching out to those, would you be interested? People were. And then sort of the more it goes on, the more you realize actually this is quite a mammoth undertaking. So we roped in several sort of members of our sort of team that, again, massive thanks to them. I could not have done this by myself. I did not do it by myself. So thank you to them for sort of coming along with me on that crazy ride. But by the end of it, we had an agenda that covered time zones from a global perspective, but UK, Europe, North America, Asia, Australia, and then back again to global final undertaking. We had incredible speakers. I think we had about 80 speakers by the end of it. We had a platform where you could log on, have conversations in real time with others that were online. And there was always someone behind the scenes that was sort of taking that and making sure everything worked well. We did have a couple of glitches, but as I understand it, nobody noticed. So thank goodness. So we were like swans, fine on the water, but furiously paddling underneath.
Of course. That's what all the best events are like.
And it was, it was great fun. And like the feedback was incredible. I've already had people saying, are you going to do it again next year? The answer is I don't know. I think we'd definitely, try and do it again, but perhaps on a slightly scaled back, version. But, then would it lose some of its, magic if we were to do that? Who knows? But it was amazing to do it at least once. People told me I was nuts, and I can definitely understand why people don't do 24-hour events. But I will also say that actually having done that, it also brings home, and again, it sounds like such a cliche, but just how important those face-to-face connections still are. Because especially working in sort of this sphere in events, you finish an event, you're on a high. Usually there's, sort of that celebration, with the team of, you've got through it. It's incredible. Whereas this time I gave my sort of like closing thanks, logged off, and that was sort of it. Then I was like,
sat there staring at a screen for someone come back on.
Exactly. And it was a little sad. I was like, this is amazing, but where is everyone? And I'm just sat here. So I think again, that is one of the things that technology and the capabilities that we have now is amazing, but nothing, in my opinion, will ever take away from being able to have those connections face to face, one-on-one or in groups or whatever it might be. Obviously, people are now, perhaps more careful with sort of the events or meetings or whatever it might be that they attend, and obviously climate change and global footprint, all of these things into consideration. But one of the things that again is really amazing post COVID is that people still do want to meet in person. Yeah. And there was a fear for a while that people would be like, well, why bother? You've got Teams, you've got Zoom, you've got goodness, whatever else, but it just isn't the same. It just isn't the same. And no matter how hard you try to recreate sort of those organic connections or conversations or whatever it is, I just don't think, or certainly with the technology that's available at the moment, that you'll ever be able to recreate those, because it is those little moments of the same things with bonding over, your team or whatever it is, it's those funny things that happen in that moment that you can, recollect. And there's something magical about those shared experiences that you just can't get over a Zoom call or whatever it might be. So again, Women in Advanced Therapies Global was incredible. And if there's a way that, we could do that, but in person, and I've got some crazy ideas about that, which logistically, I think our operations team would have an absolute fit if we tried to do. But I think there's definitely something there. And I have a lot of ideas as to where it could go. But I think the sky is definitely the limit in terms of where Women in Advanced Therapies could go, and indeed is going, because again, it's driven by the community. Ultimately, it's for the community. And it just so happens that it's me that's sort of the one going, okay, cool, well, let's do something. But it's not for me. It's definitely not about me. And, it's all about those that are sort of coming together and as I've said before, like literally saving lives and changing lives. So
yeah. Maybe on a cruise ship with different pickup points.
Well, I mean, sure. If there are any billionaires listening.
Anybody want to sponsor that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, just a couple of 100 million and we'll be there.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. You never know. Once this airs, you never know what will come through.
If we end up on a cruise ship for a Women in Advanced Therapies event, yeah, sure.
Let's go. So I can book you to do that then?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Let's make it happen.
Excellent. Well, listen, apart from going off on cruise ships and doing that, what else is in Becky Johnson's future? What do you want to see?
It's a difficult one because without sounding like an interview, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'd be very careful how you answer.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot in my future that I'm very thankful for, in terms of I've learned a lot from developing and creating Women in Advanced Therapies. And again, without sounding like something out of a, fortune cookie. Women in Advanced Therapies has helped me grow as well, not only in the connections that I've made, but in what is possible if you also believe enough. I mean, Women in Advanced Therapies was literally, I can remember, and they know who they are, but I had a conversation with literally 4 people around a table, sort of being like, look, there seems to be something here. There doesn't really seem to be anything bringing sort of, people together at the moment, that's kind of like year round. Would this be of interest? Kind of like, yes, that sounds great. I was like, okay, cool. Let's do something the year after. That I would have been ecstatic with 15 people, like 55 people, showed up. And then, from there, it's sort of, grown to the 2 standalone events. And I sort of really championed the possibilities. And sometimes I doubted that if this was right, what is right, what's wrong, so it's I guess the belief in not only myself, but the belief in what's possible. Again, if sort of, there is a shared vision, a shared passion, a shared drive, and that comes not only from the Advanced Therapies community, but also like my sort of team as well that I work with, a huge thanks to them and a huge thanks to sort of the community again for just really embracing what we are trying to achieve. And we certainly don't always get it right. But I think there is something wonderful about just having that support and knowing that, what you're trying to achieve, others see the sort of the worth in that really. Because I mean, a lot of the discussions that we have in Women in Advanced Therapies is around career growth or leadership, but also around imposter syndrome and confidence building and sort of things like that. And so I've learned a lot from the conversations that we've had. And, I hope I've been able to give back as well. So what's in my future, I don't know, but I certainly hope that I will be able to continue driving forward and I guess believing in the courage of my convictions. So
I mean, there's a lot to what you were saying just makes me think of the Biotech CEO sisterhood, which I don't know if you're aware of, but that was something that came about very similar to your situation. 3 or 4 women sitting around thinking, how can women CEOs support each other or whatever. They thought up an event. They thought they might get 20 people or something, and 50 turned up for the first event, and it's grown to, they now have their own LinkedIn page. They have their own TV segment on Biotech TV, newsletters, events, meetups, all sorts of things that have grown from women like you talking to other women and saying, how about we give that a try? Which I think is incredible. So I think, for women in advanced therapeutics, the future is amazing in terms of what's available. And I think certainly your role in it will be huge. I think there's a lot more to come from that, and a role that you can play in continuing to advance women in these areas. So keep going on that.
Well, no, absolutely. And I mean, I should say again, sort of bringing back to the, we're inclusive, not exclusive. There are sort of many sort of small groups, not so many specific to cell and gene therapy or advanced therapies, but we have the CGT Circle who we sort of partner with. They have sort of little local meetups, which is amazing. They bring everyone together. Also our sponsors for Women in Advanced Therapies have huge support for 20. We have Catapult, Emerson, Forge Biologics and Organa Bio. So, they are quite literally, supporting us not only sort of through their presence, but also through, capital and investment. And sort of that is a driving sort of theme for 2025, which is, investing in female founders, the importance of investing within women. So, I mean, I guess the future for me, but the future for Women in Advanced Therapies is continuing to sort of hammer home the message of inclusivity. And there are so many different groups that, we can't all do everything. But I think if we all come together, as you say, and sort of keep championing each other and, the work that each other are doing and work together rather than look to sort of drive each other apart, that's where the future is, in sort of bringing people together rather than pushing people apart.
Totally agree. Well, listen, Becky, I'm very conscious of your time. I think we managed to get through this without Amazon knocking on the door.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and I was expecting a delivery, but luckily it's been delayed. So thank you.
There we go. I wish you every success with what you're doing. I'm sure that Dallas is going to be an amazing success. I'm actually going to be there for some podcast guest, so I can't wait to actually meet you in person. As you say, these... Yes, absolutely. And a cocktail in the bar will I'm sure...
Just the one? It's...
Got to start somewhere, Becky. Got to start somewhere.
True.
But in the meantime, have a fantastic holiday season. I know everybody over in the UK is getting ready for Christmas and waiting for Santa.
We are obviously getting ready for Christmas, and anyone that knows me knows that I adore Christmas. But it's certainly ramping up to sort of Christmas and Dallas. That's our.
There you go. We'll take a couple of days out for Christmas, and then full speed ahead for Dallas.
Exactly.
And I really look forward to seeing you there.
And you. Thanks so much, Sharon. Thanks.
Take care. That wraps up today's episode of She Leads Biotech. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and found inspiration in the stories shared. Remember, the success of every woman can inspire another, so don't hesitate to share yours. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm specializing in sourcing talent for small and emerging bioscience companies across the US, from our headquarters in New York. For more information about our services, feel free to reach out at contact@cnaint.com. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and continue pioneering progress for women in bioscience.